that is using disruptive language, present a speech describing any topic in detail. That's the topic he's working on, and his title of the speech is The 3 Stages of Live Music in Live Play. GaryPenn. The 3 Stages of Live Music in Live Play.
I come from the land down under, where men do bow and they thunder. I don't know the lyrics. It doesn't matter. Because in 1983, at Meriwether Post Pavilion, with 19,390 other people, I was on the field listening to Men at Work at age 9. And it was awesome. Energy, the focus that the crowd gave to the band, and the vibes that you could feel emanating from the band coming back to the crowd, that was new and exciting and amazing and overwhelming and perfect. I loved it. I loved it so much that it became part of me. I was with my brother, by the way. He was a whole whopping 3 years older than I was at age 12. We didn't have parents with us. It was just us. And no harm came to us that evening, and no harm has come in many concerts for 40 years hence. The next year, I saw Huey Lewis in the news on the famous sports tour at the same venue, and Huey was singing about wanting a new drug. And I was so young, I didn't even have an old drug. But I loved it. In 1985, 86, and 87, as my musical taste developed just a bit, courtesy of my older brother, I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan, the one and only. He was a man possessed on stage, bewitching to the crowd. Maybe it was the cocaine, but there was something glowing that day in 1985 when I first saw him that I will not forget. But what I remember more than that is the woman next to me up in the field at Meriwether Post looking down and saying, "Honey, you like this music? How old are you?" And when I told her I was 11 years old, her smile lit up the rest of the show. They didn't need lights. In 1990, I was sitting in my room in suburban Maryland. August 27th, midday, I had the FM radio on. Anybody know what an FM radio is? They still have it? The news came over the radio that Stevie Ray Vaughan had passed away in a freak helicopter accident. I didn't know what to do with my emotion. I cried, I mourned for a couple days. This was a big piece of my life. That entertainment was more than just entertainment to me. It was a piece of me. But I learned one thing. I now had musical battle scars, ready for action. I was no longer a novice in the industry of live music. I was ready to become the true student, the participant. And in the 90s, as I grew my hair out and attended a couple of Metallica concerts and Van Halen and headbanged with the best of them, I proudly wore my sore neck to high school because I was a participant in the show. I was part of the show. I wasn't just looking at the show. I was extremely fortunate to go to school in Boulder, Colorado. And Boulder, Colorado happens to be driving distance from Red Rocks Amphitheater, otherwise known as musical Mecca. It was utopia for somebody in their early 20s, let me tell you. And I saw some amazing shows there and continued on the learning as a student. But when I graduated, something in me changed. And I actually graduated from that form of who I was in life to the next area, where I not only had to pretend to be an adult overnight, not sure how I really pulled that off, but I also changed in terms of how I looked at live shows. I didn't have to participate. I could be. I could let it flow over me. And amongst 70,000 other people in 1997, when I drove to Limestone, Maine, to see Fish play 6 sets in 48 hours, 500 minutes of music, in the rain and the wind, I realized one thing. I was part of the largest city in Maine, bigger than Limestone, for 2 days. And I was just a learned observer, part of a bigger movement than me. It felt awesome. But it wasn't until 2006, when I attended Telluride Music Festival, that I realized, wow, I can actually relax and do this at the same time. Because usually at a show, you have to think about driving home, you have to think about being sober, or sobering up as the case may be. And you have to think about all the things that are coming the next day. But at a festival, there's none of that. There's just that day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day after that. There's no car movement. There's no worries about being sober. It's lovely. So in High Sierra Music Festival in 2008, which was the first music festival of 10 High Sierras that I've been to now, something clicked. And I realized that I could just let it be. Not to quote the Beatles, but it's fairly accurate. So I would encourage you, the next time that you go to a show, the next time that you have the opportunity to see a show, grab it, look around, relax, and take a minute to turn around during the middle of a show. Look at all the people. Look at their faces. Look at the energy. Look at the positivity. Suck it all in. Come home and buy another ticket.